If you've been here, you know our theme text for these 40 days on our campus, 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14, if my people, which are called by my name, 4 things, will humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and fourth, turn from their wicked ways. Then, God says, I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. If those 2 letters coming together to form this very yet small word, if. It's obnoxious, though, this word if. It subtly demands that we think twice. We've got to stop now and think through. If. It's almost as if the word if it's a professor. It calls us to think through what is happening. If. It's a beggar. It begs you. It pleads. Please consider what I say next. And so 2 Chronicles, God in chapter 7 verse 14 says, if. It's a professor. It probes our minds. It's a beggar. It pleads with us to consider what happens next. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves, pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked way, then I'll forgive their sins and heal their land. What if? What if we take God up on his if? What if we, as God-fearing Christians, follow through with what we claim and take him up at his word? What if we take God up on his if? God says, if you humble yourself, if you pray, if you seek, and finally if you turn. There's a logical sequence here. Hey, if you've missed the journey that we've been on, you're welcome to go onto our website. There are the teachings. Hey, if you want something even better, go download the app. You heard we had an app, huh? Crazy. App. You can go to Google Play or Apple Store and download that. Campion SDA Church. Yep. If you're a parent, download it. All the messages are there, are left there. You can review them to learn what your student is learning. And then just to have video evidence that they were in church. Yeah. So there's a sequence, there's a logical sequence to this 4-part. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray. Beloved, we can't pray. Our prayers are a mindless exercise in futility if we don't come humble. If my people will humble themselves, it will lead them to pray. When we recognize how big God is and how small we are, it will lead us to pray, to plead. When we understand how big God is and how much he wants to do, we will pray. There's a logical sequence. And when my people are humbled and they pray, then they will seek my face. God knows this. And after they seek my face, they will turn from their wicked ways. The practice that we often engage with, beloved, is the end of the equation first. We start with the turn from your wicked way. If I could only kick this nasty habit, if I could only stop doing what I've done a dozen times, if I could only fix my problem, then the domino effect would be created. But God says, no, start in the other direction. Humble yourself. Pray. You'll be led to seek my face. And when you seek my face, you will turn from your wicked way. It's a logical sequence. We're in the second half of this logical sequence. We've gone through humble and pray, seek, and now we're turning from seek to turn. But if we don't have the seek right, beloved, we can talk about turn all we want. We can talk about turn until Jesus comes, and we still won't be ready. Because it is who we seek. It is who we seek that determines what we turn from or what we turn to. It's in the seek. Who we seek will determine who and what we turn to and what we turn from. And so it's altogether important that we would today, as we make that transition from seek to turn, that we would again just remind ourselves who we should seek. So I want to present my case. I want to argue before you the all-importance of who we seek. I'll do my best to defend to you that of three categories, and I know we could break them down into subcategories, but that would require a skipping lunch, and the seniors voted not to do that. So we'll boil them down to three categories, and I'll do my best to defend that of those three, two of them are a horrible risk for our eternity, and ultimately that only one of them is a viable option. So three categories of who we can seek, and who we seek ultimately determines what we turn to and what we turn from. So the first category of seeking is ourselves. Oh, we're good. We're good at that. We in this post whatever generation of modernism, we use this language like even it's been baptized in the church. Do what you think or feel is best. God forbid that that's how we educate ourselves and especially our young people. Do what you feel or think is best. I'll do my best to disabuse you of this notion. We are poor judges of what is right and wrong. We make horrible decisions. We were talking to the senior class in their Bible class this week. I was reminded of a line that I often remind myself of when I am wrestling with what I think or feel is right based on what is ultimately right. When I have this conflict, I remind myself that I'm a poor judge of deciding what is right and wrong, and I only have to go back a few years to my own childhood and remember that there was a time that I complained to my mom. I cried, I broke down in a temper tantrum because my mother would not let me eat mud. Fast forward a few years, and now in a sophisticated world, I claim to be a good lens by which we can decide what is right and wrong. Beloved, you don't want to go off of my thoughts, and I don't want to go off of yours. One of my favorite stories, I'm sure it's not altogether true, although I like to believe it is. I want to read for you. It just reminds us of the point. It's about an old doctor. Moved into a small town looking to open a medical clinic that he could run part-time as he transitioned into retirement. This is an MD, a medical doctor. He puts a sign outside his clinic that reads, "A cure for your ailment guaranteed." Right? $500. Or we'll pay you $1,000 if we can't. The young doctor in that same town is upset by the discounted rate that's being offered and thinks it's a good opportunity to make a point and earn $1,000. So he heads into what he describes as the old quack, sits down in front of the old doctor and says, "Doc, I've lost my sense of taste. The old doctor murmurs something to himself and then says, "Nurse, please bring the medicine from box 22 and put 3 drops in the patient's mouth." The nurse does it. Gagging, the young doctor spits it out. "That's gasoline," he says. You can't do, that's gasoline. The old doctor said, "It worked. You've got your taste back. Pay on the way out, $500. Oh. The young doctor goes home. Now he's annoyed. Stews about it for a couple of days, only to return thinking, if I can go in the second time and win this deal, I'll pay for my loss and I'll earn $500. It's not a bad deal. So the young doctor heads back in and says to the old doc, "Doc, I've lost my memory. I can't remember a single thing." The old doctor remembers something to himself and then says, "Nurse, bring that medicine from box 22 and put 3 drops in the patient's mouth." The young doctor, hey, I already know, that's gasoline." "Fantastic," says the old doc. "You've got your memory back. Pay on your way out, that will be $500. The young doctor goes home. Now he's angry. He stews and stews. He's determined that if he can make it at least once, he'll earn his money back and cut his losses at breaking even. He goes back in. He says, "Doc, my eyesight has become weak. I can't hardly see a thing." The old doc muttered something to himself and then said, "Yeah, I don't have any medicine for that. Here's your money." He hands him a $500 bill, which the young doctor then protests, "Hey, the sign says 1,000. Why are you giving me 500? "Fantastic," said the old doc. "You got your sight back." I wouldn't trust myself. As confident as I am about right and wrong, as determined as I am often mistaken. Confidence is no indication of absolute truth. Passion does not determine right and wrong. I need to drive this point home further. I need to make it so cogent in our minds that we leave here never willing to trust our own thoughts or feelings again in determining what's right or wrong. If I could do that, it would be a win. So I need your help. Seniors, sorry you guys are sitting on the platform today. We have randomly selected 5 of you to illustrate that we don't maybe know as much as we think we know. By the way, we selected the seniors not only because they're sitting up front, because they're the most intelligent group on this campus. Collectively together, they outdo the staff and the teachers for sure. So we've selected them. All right? So behind the organ here is a stack of 5 chairs. The following 5 individuals grab a chair and just put it right here in the middle and have a seat. Ruth Garcia. Zach. Hernan, Cameron, and Priscilla. Grab a chair, have a seat in the middle. We need to be so convinced in our minds that we leave here not willing to trust. Ruth is not here. Let's, you're voting for someone? Oh, anybody, okay. Anybody? Then Damien. Damien, my favorite, son of our favorite administrative assistant. Damien, grab that chair. Thank you for let Ruth know you appreciate her absence. We need to be so clear, so cogent in our minds, seniors, today. When we leave, I have 5 questions, 5 simple nature questions that we're just one question. That's it. One question. You answer it. The answer will come up on the screen. We'll know if you're right. Know if we can trust our own abilities. These are simple nature questions, things that you see or hear every day, or the items you see. But what do you really know? So we're going to throw up a question here. Damien, this is yours. How many noses do slugs have?
0.
Good try. How many noses do slugs have? 4. 4 noses. Damien, I can't trust you, man. All right, let's go. How many eyelids does a camel have? You act as if you didn't know that camels had eyes. How many eyelids do camels have? You're counting, okay. How many eyelids do camels have?
4.
4. How many eyelids do camels have? 3. Well, you're getting us closer. Thank you. How fast can a honeybee fly? Miles per hour. Miles per hour, how fast can a honeybee? Not the hornets or the wasps that chase us around the field, but the honeybee.
14 miles an hour?
What did you say?
14 miles an hour?
40 or 14?
14.
14. Woo! Very brilliant boy you are. How fast can they fly? 15 miles per hour. Thanks for paying attention in class. All right. Next question. How many knees does a spider have? Knees. You know what knees? Yeah.
8.
8. 8. All right. How many knees does a spider have? 48. Your thinking was right because they have 8 legs, but they have 6 knees on each leg, so that kind of, yeah. All right, you brilliant group. Seniors, it's your last hope. Where does a snail breathe through? No, snails breathe. Where?
Why does it look like slugs?
This is a snail.
No, my bad.
Where does it breathe through?
The breathing apparatus. It's eyeballs.
That's a good try. It's foot. Thank you, seniors. Would you please appreciate the seniors who demonstrated to us. I am convinced now more than when I left my house this morning that we ought not to trust ourselves. We wrestle with the simple answers of nature. Now tell me about the complex realities of right and wrong that bear eternal consequences. Beloved, we have become all too confident in our own thoughts and feelings. What do you think? What do you feel? Beloved, that is a dangerous game that risks all eternity. Category number 1, I submit to you, should not be trusted. We should not seek ourselves. For our second category, I want you to go to a Bible narrative with me. It's in the book of Mark. Mark chapter 6. It's the story of King Herod. Mark chapter 6 and verse 14, we'll begin there. Now King Herod heard of him, for his name had become well known. And he said, John the Baptist, this is Jesus, he'd heard of him, Jesus, and he said, John the Baptist is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work with him. Herod should know. He should be thinking about this because, as we'll find out in just a minute, Herod played a crucial role in the ending of the life of King Herod. Others said, verse 15, it is Elijah. And others said, it is the prophet or like one of the prophets. But when King Herod heard, verse 16, he said, this is John whom I beheaded, and he is raised up from the dead. Verse 17, for Herod himself had sent and laid hold of John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. Okay, so here's the story. Herod hears of Jesus, thinks maybe this is John the Baptist, raised from the dead. Oh no, he's probably out to get me because I've killed him. King Herod ordered his death. Why? Because he had married Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. All right? Verse 18. Because John had said to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." Therefore Herodias held it against him and wanted to kill him, but she could not. Here we have Herodias, once married to Philip, now brought to Herod as his wife. John the Baptist has told Herod, hey, you can't do this. This is wrong. This is wrong. He's pointed out the right and the wrong. Herodias wanted to kill John the Baptist, but couldn't. Why? Because verse 20, Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just and holy man, and he protected him. And when he heard him, he did many things and heard him gladly. Now, just draw out this picture because we've kind of understood John the Baptist to kind of just be this thorn in the side of King Herod. Oh, come on, John the Baptist, you're just kind of this old fogey, just kind of always calling out other people's problems. But apparently this wasn't the case because Herod heard John gladly and believed that he was a just and holy man. They had some sort of relationship, some sort of friendship, and it wasn't just a one and done. King Herod and John the Baptist had talked about these things. And so Herodias didn't dare touch John the Baptist because of King Herod. But then the music changes. Verse 21. Then, and it becomes a little more suspenseful. An opportune day came when Herod, this is verse 21 now, when Herod on his birthday gave a feast for his nobles, the high officers and the chief men of Galilee. And when Herodias' daughter herself came in and danced, it was uncommon for the ladies of the kingdom to come into these kind of gatherings. But she this time came in and danced. And the dance that she gave pleased Herod and those who sat with him. And the king said to the girl when the music had stopped and the dancing was over, "Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you." Verse 23, he also swore to her, "Whatever you ask me, I will give you up to half of my kingdom." So the girl comes in and does a dance. And King Herod, caught up in the music and the celebration and the dance, and quite frankly, the lust, says to the young girl, "Ask whatever you want, even half of my kingdom, and I will give it to you." Verse 24, so she went out to her waiting mother on the other side of the doors. Says, Mom, you wouldn't believe it, but King Herod just offered me anything. Her mom, not missing a beat, said, I want you to go in and ask for the head of John the Baptist. Verse 25, immediately she came in with haste to the king and asked, saying, I want you to give me at once the head of one John the Baptist on a platter. What a terrible request. What an evil move. Herodias, unknowing that John the Baptist, while Herod had to quiet him somehow, or he would be publicly humiliated, still had a friendship with this man that he believed was right and holy. She sends her daughter in to ask of her husband that he would kill one he respected. Verse 26, and the king was exceedingly sorry. This was someone he had listened to, gladly receiving his advice. Yet because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he did not want to refuse her. Immediately he sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded the greatest prophet that had ever lived. In verse 28, he brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. And when the disciples of John heard of it, they came and took away his headless corpse and laid it in a tomb. I want the graphic imagery to sink into our calloused minds. The one who claimed to love Herod sent her daughter in to request the head of his friend, and one he thought was holy and just. And that verse 26. That verse 26 is so telling. I'll put it back up on the screen for you. Verse 26. And the king was exceedingly sorry. The moment he realized the folly of his ways. In a moment he was awoken to the realization of what he had allowed to control his life. How was he able to just in the next second order the death of one he thought was holy and right? How is it possible that the king would go against even what he knew was right? John the Baptist, he believed, was a just and holy man. He heard him gladly. How is it possible that the king would order his head on a platter for what he knew was wrong? He did it knowing it was wrong. Why did he do it? And here's why. Verse 26, he was exceedingly sorry. Yet, that's kind of the but because of the oath and because of those who sat. Because of the oath and because of those who sat, King Herod went ahead with the request. Knowing that it wasn't right, knowing that it wasn't just, it wasn't good, it was a sin of horrible proportion. It was wrong, and King Herod did it. Why? Because of those who sat watching. We call it peer pressure. We do things, we say things, we act a certain way, we dress and eat and entertain ourselves. Why? Because of those around us. We call it peer pressure. Oh, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, good. He's talking to the seniors about this because they're about to go into a whole world where there's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of things. Ooh, they need to know. They need to know about peer pressure and standing up against it. Amen. You do need to know. Have you heard of peer pressure? Teachers have talked to you about it before. Deans have said, hey, peer pressure, it's not good. You guys know that kind of stuff? Just say amen so they know. Amen. So they know. Now let me talk to you. King Herod was not a senior in high school. Do you know how old King Herod was when he made this decision? 45 years old. He was a man, grown up, a king. And as the king sat there on that fateful day, having to make the decision between right and wrong, he chose wrong. Why? Why would a 45-year-old king do wrong when he knows it's wrong? Because 45-year-olds have peer pressure. Just like 18-year-olds. Beloved, don't write this off. Do not excuse ourselves from this because we are mature. We've grown past this teenage attraction to fitting in. To the contrary, I don't believe King Herod is alone in this dilemma. I don't think a king is alone in this problem. But as he sat there in his own court at his own birthday, and what he knew was wrong was presented before him, he went for it. All the while exceedingly sorry. Why? Because of those who sat watching. And high school seniors, the rest of our young people here, I'll never forget a survey conducted on the campus of Andrews University while I was pastoring there. The questions about right and wrong. I remember reading the results and feeling this gut check when we read over the results. Many of the questions asking, do you think this is right or do you think this is wrong? And the answers in some areas of making the decision between right and wrong. Would you do it? While the majority of high school students would do it, they answered in the same questionnaire that they knew it was wrong. And that's an Adventist campus. We're not any different here. Guys, this peer pressure. It will drive you to do things that you never dreamt of doing, that you know are wrong. But because somebody else, because she is attractive and she does it, because he has money and a car and he does it, because they do it, because Herod lived for the audience of everyone else, he did it. And so category number 2. Category number 2 is seeking everyone else. Maybe you don't seek yourself. Maybe you don't trust yourself. No. I wouldn't trust myself. But you are blown where the wind blows. You move in the direction of popular opinion. And it doesn't end when you graduate from high school. It doesn't end when you have a career or a family. There are 45-year-old kings who are still making their decisions in life based on those who sat around them. And when we're risking eternity, it just doesn't seem right. A verse came to my mind. I want to put it on the screen. During a particular difficult time in Israel, when the people were disobedient, Prophet Samuel summarizes in the book of Judges, chapter 21, he summarizes the problem. In those days, there was no king, little k, in Israel. Every man and every woman did that which was right in their own eyes. And I want to argue to you, seniors, I want to urge to you, I want to defend my case to you, that if there is no king in your life, capital K, that the only other option is to do what is right in your own eyes or in the eyes of those who sit around you. There are 3 categories. Yourself, you can trust yourself, you can trust others, or you can trust a king, capital K. That's what Paul said in Romans chapter 1 and verse 1 when he introduced himself. He said, I, Paul, am a slave to Jesus Christ. I only listen to his orders. A slave is not free to choose who they want to follow or who they want to obey. Paul introduced himself in the book of Romans as I am a slave to one king. I'm a slave to Jesus Christ. If you are not a slave to Jesus Christ, there are only two categories that you will seek, because you will seek. You will seek either to trust yourself or to trust those who sit around you. But Paul says, I seek only one. I am a slave to Jesus Christ. I love this line in Psalms. I love this line in Psalms. Mark this one down. Psalms 32, verse 8. I will instruct you, says God. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my, what does it say, seniors? My eyes. I will guide you with my eyes. This is the alternative to living for yourself, to seeking yourself, or to seeking the approval of others. This is the other alternative. To watch, to live, to obey. Only one. I will instruct you. I will teach you. Keep the verse up. I will instruct you. I will teach you. I will even guide you with my eyes. Now, the unique thing about that line, I will guide you with my eyes, right? The eyes, we talk about them, the windows of the soul, but eyes are silent communicators, right? That's why they send you a picture if they're looking for donations in a project, an orphanage. They'll send you a picture, and they won't send you a picture of just a poor child, the back of their head, right? They will send you a picture of a child where the centerpiece is what? The eyes. These eyes communicate silently. They don't have to have a voice. They silently communicate, but they require one thing from us. And that is, we cannot be in another room and be guided by the eyes of another. We cannot be in another place. We have to be looking into their face. And now it comes full circle and makes logical sense when God says, if my people which are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, if they will look into my face, then the final result will be that they will turn from their wicked way. 3 categories. You can seek yourself, trust yourself. You can seek the approval of others, or you can seek an audience of one. I want you just to picture this, seniors, all right? Just picture this. You're up here. Everyone else up here is gone, all right? You're just by yourself, acting out a part. This stage is your life. It is possible to live your life for the approval of everyone else out there. But I'm telling you, your story will resemble awfully closely the life of King Herod. If you live for their approval, if you live for our approval, it will end a lot like King Herod. The alternative, though, the alternative is to live your life on the stage, but only to have one in the audience. Watch him. Let him guide you with his eyes. Let yourself be a slave to King Jesus. Ian Bounds, my favorite author on prayer. I know I told you I had a favorite book, Daring to Ask for More. That's my favorite current book. But I have a favorite author on prayer, Ian Bounds. After you're done reading Daring to Ask for More, get one of Ian Bounds' books. Changed my life 1 month in February, just a few years ago. But Ian Bounds quotes a minister from Scotland named Robert Murray McCheyne. Here's what Robert Murray McCheyne writes. He's a pastor in the 1840s in Scotland. Nobody we would have met, but listen to what he says. I ought to pray before seeing anyone. In the morning, I ought to pray before seeing anyone. I feel it is far better to begin with God, to see His face first, to get my soul near Him before it's near another. And Ian Bounds follows that up with this line. Keep going. If God is not first in our thoughts and efforts in the morning, He will be last through the remainder of the day. Beloved, we are so incredibly foolish when we think that we can spend the first hour of our morning surfing Facebook and watching the news, and yet claim that we are seeking God first the rest of the day. What a pathetic lie to ourselves. Seeking Facebook. Why do you seek Facebook? Because you want to know what everybody else is thinking, doing, acting. Oh, let me get the feel for the rest of the world. Twitter, maybe it's Instagram, Twitter. Let me watch the news. Let me get a feel for that. Ian Bound says, I've got to have my face with God first. Because He's my master. I live for an audience of only one. And from there, I can go into the rest of the day. That's God's word. I will guide you with my eyes, but you've got to look at me. You've got to look at me. Meanwhile, we claim to be Christians, God seekers, living for an audience of only one, but allowing everything else to be first. Who we seek, beloved, determines what or who we will turn away from or turn to. So seeking is everything. In Daring to Ask for More, the book I've referenced, Melody Mason outlines 5 practical points. I want to get to these. One more illustration and we're out of here. Daring to Ask for More, she said, hey, you want to seek God's face? Here are 5 practical points. We'll put them on the screen. They're practical. First, develop the habit of going to bed at a reasonable hour. What time you go to bed determines how you feel and what time you get up in the morning. Beloved, this isn't rocket science. This isn't quantum physics. This is, you go to bed earlier, you will get up earlier and better off. Number 2, develop the habit of getting up early. Well, number 1 comes first, obviously, and then you will find yourself rising earlier. Number 3, when you get up, don't get distracted. You get up, check your smartphone. No, keep your phone off. Keep your computer closed. Don't go get the paper if you still do that. Number 4, make a plan and be consistent. Whatever your plan is. Beloved, for me, it's reading 4 chapters a day so I can read the entire Bible in 1 year, and journaling, and then I read a psalm and read through Matthew chapter 27, 24 to 54. That's my plan. But have a plan and be consistent. Have a place in your house where it's consistent. You know that you and God meet there every day. And finally, 5th, treat that time and God with respect. What an embarrassment to our angels. This is what I think. I don't have a verse for this. But our guardian angels, when we say and sing words like God is first, He's all in all, and I am going to serve Him, and then everything else trumps Him. And they know who we're skipping out on. They're like, you're a bozo. This is God. Yeah, I know, but it's not, sorry, work comes first. Really? Seniors, I'd go so far, and now that you're seniors and you're graduating, you can do this. I would go so far as to say that if you haven't spent time with God, skip your first class and spend time with God. Yeah, that didn't get any amens. I know what you're thinking too. Beloved, but since when in the light of eternity does class come before God? Now, I would also say that you need to get up early and just do your morning devotions. All right. The invitation, the promise of God is that He will guide us. He will decide. He will help us turn from and to what is right and what is wrong. But He said, I need your attention. I need you to fix your eyes on me. So since this is Valentine's weekend, gentlemen, if you hadn't noted, it's Valentine's weekend. Safeway has flowers and cards. I did a little reading about the science of falling in love. Researchers have concluded that falling in love is much like the sensation of being addicted to drugs. That wasn't so positive. But Dr. Kat Van Kirk, PhD, clinical sexologist, licensed marriage and family therapist, says there are chemicals that are released in our bodies when we fall in love that are a lot like being addicted to drugs. But then this Dr. Van Kirk outlines several points that happen to the human body when you fall in love. This is all future tense, I understand, but number one, your pupils dilate. They said pupils dilate. When you see someone you love, your pupils dilate. Your cheeks become flush. Your palms sweaty. This is all science, right? This isn't just some fairy tale. This is science. Your voice becomes higher when you're talking to the one you love. Creativity in your mind is sparked. Which means you do better at your job. You're likely to gain weight just by being in love. Something happens, you gain weight. Men's bones are strengthened by being in love. They didn't write anything about women's bones, I apologize, but men's bones are strengthened. Gentlemen. And then Dr. Van Kirk wrote, you can actually die of a broken heart. Right? We've used that terminology. Oh, he broke my heart. She broke my heart. But according to the American Heart Association, there's a scientific term. It's stress-induced cardiomyopathy. So it's almost like you have to check with your doctor before you can fall in love. Hey, is love good for me? I mean, is love, right? It's like those drugs on the commercials, right? Check with your doctor to see if this is good for you. Yeah. But here's this last point is the one that caught my attention. When you are in love, scientifically they have discovered that you can't keep your eyes off of him or her. Well, we knew that because we live on this campus and we watch you guys all the time. But they've just discovered that there's scientific evidence behind the reason you want him or her on your back screen on your phone or the picture on your desk. There's something about it. Dr. Van Kirk says, it's the same when you see that person. There is a similarity to what cocaine does. So stay off drugs and fall in love. Get a surge of energy. But here's the point. You can't keep your eyes off of him or her. And when the psalmist writes, I will guide you with my eyes, and we understand that to be an invitation to look at God, to focus only on Jesus. We understand that to be an invitation. The next logical question, though, is, do I have to force myself to look at him like he's some sort of ugly creature? Or can I actually be drawn? Do I have to force myself? All right, look at Jesus. Or can I actually be naturally drawn to look at his face, much like I'm naturally drawn to look at my beloved? So the question is fair. And I can only answer it this way. In my life, it's been true. You can fall in love with Jesus, where in the morning, because of your love for him, you will want to seek his face just like you want to seek one that you're attracted to. How do I do it? What's worked for me? Two things. Spending time in nature, for me, speaks of the beauty of God. And secondly, reading Matthew chapter 27, verse 24 through 54. That's the crucifixion. That's the best picture of a self-sacrificing God that is so in love with me, he would rather die for eternity than live without me. And when I read that, everything else makes sense. And I am drawn to look at the face of Jesus like we look at the face of a good-looking or a good-looking girl or a good-looking guy? What if it was that easy? What if it was that attractive to seek the face of Jesus? I believe it is. You don't have to force. You can be drawn where you can't keep your eyes off of him. Hallelujah. That's what I want. I don't want to have to force myself. I don't want to have to discipline myself to, you have to ask. I want to look at his face like I do want to look at the face of Melanie. So what about you guys? Living on the stage of your life, seniors. I want to talk to you guys. This is it. Your last 3 months of high school. What about you guys? Living the stage of your life. Do you want to live for the audience of everyone else? Live for yourself. Or would you be willing today on this campus to say, I will live my life for the audience of one? Any of you? Any of you? Any of you want to live your lives for the audience of one? Amen. What about the rest of us? You've been living your life trusting yourselves, or you've been living your life for the rest. Because of those who sat around you, your colleagues in work, the professionals that sit around you, your own family, maybe your neighborhood. You buy new cars, new houses, knowing that it's not the right thing to do, but you do it because what everybody else is doing. I don't know what it is. It could be anything. But today, what if we live our lives for the audience of only one? Be seated, guys. Be seated. Seniors, you don't have this. The rest of us do. In your pew back in front of you, there is a Connect card. Everyone, I'd invite you to fill it out. If you have a prayer request, you write it down. Just here, I want this to be prayed over. The pastors, we'll pray over it. Maybe you realize that you need to begin a relationship with Jesus. You need to be baptized, or you want to go further into your relationship with Jesus. On the back of the card, there's a box with different options to be baptized, join a Bible study, to grow deeper with Jesus. Maybe you want to become involved in serving. There's a box you can check there. Or maybe you're a guest here today. You're just visiting our campus. You're visiting because of your family here in the senior class, or you're just randomly walked onto our campus this morning and you're in church with us. We want to hear from you. Just write down your information and mark that you are a guest on our campus. We want to send you a gift. We want to send you an appreciation gift for being here. The deacons are going to, during our closing hymn, pass through and collect our morning tithes and offerings, but they're also going to collect those Connect cards. If you have a Connect card, drop it in the basket and let it go. If you're used to giving online, you can give online via the website or our app. You can download the app, and there's a giving option on the app. But as we sing together hymn number 334, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, I'd invite you, fill out the Connect card, return your tithes and offerings, but ultimately and only and always live for the audience of one.
sing the last verse. Oh, to grace not remain a debtor, daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind me closer still to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take it, seal it for thy course of love.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace.